But yeah, after that, got Pau Torres of Villarreal. He is obviously a very, very good defender as well. I think Man United very keen on him. So if he does move, and he's also indicated that he wouldn't mind staying or signing it. Apparently there's a contract offer from Villarreal on the table for him. I do wonder whether United wanted him. It'd be interesting to see which way that goes. And if Spurs have to turn away from Bastoni, it'd be interesting to see whether they enter that race as well. But definitely high up there on Spurs' list as well. Then you've got Mark Guéhi. I'm actually killing the pronunciation of his name. The Crystal Palace and England defender. I like him as well. He's, I think the difference there is that he's a right footer. And obviously former Chelsea guy, wasn't he? He left it. Was it only been a season at Palace as well? So you'd imagine there's quite big money there. I think he's got a deal till 2026. He's only 21. The reason Spurs like him is he's a bit of a leader as well. Good character. I think he was captain for Palace for Vieira's side for a fair few times in the second half of the season. Like I say, 21 years old. That's quite impressive. So yeah, in terms of homegrown numbers as well, that's another tick for that box. But I would say, price-wise, I think he's going to be right up there as well. But then, it's a question of value, isn't it? Is it going to be more than the 51 plus million they want to spend on Bastoni? Maybe not. But also, it's different. I suppose it's your levels, isn't it? I guess your top of your wish list players, you probably are willing to pay that money for. If you start to work down that list slightly, and let's be honest, everyone on this list is a very good defender. But I wonder whether price-wise you do think to yourself, well, I'm not going to pay that for that person and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I suppose it's like buying a house, isn't it, in a way? So next on the list, Gleison Bremer from Torino. And the reason he's interesting is he's the player that Inter Milan are looking to sign right now. About 21 million. Brazilian player, obviously. 25 years old. He's a right footer as well. So again, whether they can play on the left is one thing, or whether this is just someone else for a slightly different role. Maybe the Romero backup if Sanchez were to go, or the Dyer backup perhaps. But yeah, it's all very interesting with Bremer. That he's represented by CAA Base. If you're not aware of who they are, they're the agency that have got really close ties with Spurs. A lot of their clients have played for Spurs. You've got Sonny right now. He's a Base client. Delhi, Carl Walker-Peters, Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier. There's a very close connection between Spurs and Base. And yeah, that's an interesting one. That gives them an in there. So yeah, I do wonder whether that interest is used in any way when trying to leverage into letting Bastoni go. So there's him. And then there's one and he is on this list, who caused a little bit of people complaining this week, and that is, I'm going to hopefully not murder the pronunciation of this, Clement Lenglet? It's spelled Lenglet, but I'm guessing in French that's Lenglet. So he turns 27 this month, obviously a bit older than the other players there. I understand Spurs tried to sign him on loan last summer, and that was turned down by the player. The player didn't want to leave Barcelona at that point. He's played, I think I wrote this down, 27 times for Barcelona last season, started 4 games in the Champions League. There's talk because of their financial problems that he'll be available on a loan deal. Potentially a 2-year loan deal has been spoken about. Again, he's back to it. He's a left footer. So he would be the Ben Davies competition, as it were. Like I say, further down that list, I'd imagine they turn to him if they can't get Bastoni or anyone above. He is definitely a cheaper alternative. People absolutely saying he's the worst defender in the world ever. You'd think. I think there's an element of he's not Bastoni, and I think that's what comes into play when people talk about this sort of stuff. He's a good player. He's a France international as well, and he, from what I understand, he's not the quickest, but he's got a very kind of cultured left foot, as it were. He'll be very, very good in playing the ball out under pressure and things like that. And, he's playing at Barcelona at a time when Barcelona are in a difficult period in their history, let's put it that way. So I think it's tough to probably judge him too much on that, but he's got real experience as well. And I think they see him as quite a good character as well. So, like I say, if they're going for him, it perhaps suggests that other stuff isn't coming off. But, in that list, there's some very, very good defenders. I've had a few people asking about Kim Min-jae, because obviously linked perennially in the past, he has become a little bit like Spurs' defensive equivalent of Leandro Damião. Damião, do you remember him? The Brazilian striker. With Kim Min-jae, I understand there is some interest still there from Spurs, but I don't believe he's kind of up there on that list. Like I say, it's a player that they've been tracking, they're keeping an eye on. How old is he now? He's 25 now. Even that shows how far time's gone. I'm sure I was right about him when he was 22, 23. Obviously, he's been at Fenerbahce and played 40 times for last season. Had a good season, from what I understand. But yeah, I think Spurs and Everton were linked with him. I'd say that if Spurs were to move for him later in the window, again, it's because other stuff hasn't worked out, or the deal was just so good they thought as an extra backup, why not? But yeah, I don't think he's as high up on the list as maybe some people would hope. But definitely one there's a little bit of interest in still. So yeah, there's plenty of kind of options there, and that is only some of the names. That's the names that I'm aware of on the list. There may well be others that, of course, would be kept a little bit closer to their chest. I was going to talk about strikers because I noticed today that some of the Dybala news was coming out again. You may remember me saying, I think I wrote about it and spoke about it in a video about a month ago, that Spurs weren't going to go for Dybala. Obviously in the past, there's been interest, and he certainly was a player that tried to sign in that summer of 2019. But in terms of since then, no. And the key person I think in all of this is Fabio Paratici, because Paratici, I don't really believe sees him as the best fit for what Conte's trying to do at Spurs. And I understand he was one of those trying to move Dybala on from Juventus at that time in 2019. So, yeah, I don't think it's ever really been a particularly viable option this summer. But, yeah, again, who knows? I'd imagine not. Everything I'm hearing is not. And I see there's also stories now coming out today which kind of confirms that again, that it's not the case. So, yeah, sorry to those who really are big Dybala fans. But yeah, if Paratici doesn't really believe he's the right fit for what they're trying to do, then yeah, it's very unlikely to happen.